How you guys doing? Can you all hear me? If you can't hear me, raise your hand. Good. All right. We're going to talk about how to be ready for anything. I don't have a lot of time, so I am going to rock it and roll it, and you're going to rock it and roll it with me. First off, first question you should ask is, why should I listen to you? Because I spent 6 months dealing with trainers of U.S. Navy SEALs, trainers of astronauts, trainers of trauma surgeons, homeless people, professional improvisers, and I ask them all the same question. How do you teach somebody how to be ready for anything? And what I'm going to share with you are their answers. Good? Good. Oh, by the way, when I end with an up inflection like that, good? That's seeking a response. Good? Yes. Nice, good. All right, so first rule here, take what's useful, lose everything else, okay? You may find value in some of this, not all of it, that's fine. Take what works for you. Build your own life. But I promise you, if you listen closely, some of this stuff is going to help you out. First off, let's try this. Everyone get a playing card? Yeah? If you don't have a playing card, not my fault. Here we go. Everyone see the playing card that I have? You don't have to see the specific card, right? How about now? Oh, how about now? Okay? Oh, really? Not as impressive from the back. I'm going to teach you how to do this in 2 minutes. Here's how it works. Thumb on the front, 2 middle fingers on the back. 2 middle fingers, you say yes. There is your ring finger and the one you extend in traffic. Put those on the back. Hold it, thumb on front. Curl down those 2 back fingers so the fingernails are at the base of the card. Reach your pointer and your pinky forward like bullhorns. Grab the base of that card, squeeze a little bit. Gently open your hands. Okay? Now, I know you're really smart people, but I brought different explanation. Once you curl those fingernails down, this is what that hand looks like. Taking it and bending it and opening it. And here's what it looks like from the back. Okay, so I've explained it twice to you. It's not a difficult concept. So now together, we are going to disappear this card on the count of 3. Everybody in the pre-dissipatory position? Ready, and 1, 2, 3, go! And back. How did that work for you? Good? Okay, so the question is, what's the difference between you and me with regard to this trick? Practice. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the first lesson. Everything I'm going to show you takes practice. How many of you speak more than one language? Great. How many of you play a musical instrument? You know what this means. You get to a point when you go to learn a new skill, and you get to that point where I'm an idiot. I can't do this. If you don't work through that, you don't get the skill. So this stuff is going to take practice. It's going to seem logical and simple, but unless you practice it, it doesn't become a part of your life. Good? Are we good? Yeah. Awesome. Let's move on. If you don't love change, change lovers, show yourselves. I love change, change. Oh, there's a lot of liars in this room. Good. Here's how it works. Most of us don't like change. There's 2 ends of change, okay? If you think of it as a bullwhip, and normally I bring a bullwhip with me, but I happen to leave it in my garage. But if you consider a bullwhip, in order to make that bullwhip create the sonic boom on the end that's the whip end, they have to get it going 740 miles an hour. 740, you probably know the exact number there, but it's pretty close to 740 miles an hour. And the key here is that hand on the end of the whip, that isn't going 740 miles an hour. That hand, that's leadership. That receiving end, that's you. And bottom line, if you want to get on the right side of change, you have to be the one creating it, period. The only way to get on the right side of change is to create it. If you are not creating it, you are a victim of it. Okay, so make your choice. Learn to love change. It is a bucking bronco that we are super glued to. There is no dismount. There is either learn to harness it and ride it, or get trampled. Learn to harness it, ride it. Change can be good. And you can't be ready for anything if you're not paying attention. You've got to learn to pay attention with your whole body. One of my favorite ways of paying attention is listening. This is the Japanese symbol for listening. And if you look at its component parts, breaking them out, one part represents ear, one part represents eyes, one part represents heart, and another part represents undivided attention. So when the Japanese talk about listening, they're not just talking about using these. They're talking about using all of this. How many of you in this room love somebody? Okay? Okay, good. This is a gift to those people. Take this home. Use this. Listen with your whole body and watch what comes back. It will change your relationships. It will change your life. The amount of information that you will get and be able to use to bring joy to the people you love is infinite. Listen. Open these. Shut this. Groovy. Moving on. And we have to find a way to hijack our autopilot. And you think you don't have an autopilot, but let me ask you this. Ever drive to work, get there, and look back and go, How did I get here? That's your autopilot. And we do that with automatic things because we go, I know the routine here. I don't need to think all the way through this. We want to be efficient. But when we're efficient, we miss opportunities. We miss valuable information, things that we can use, things that will bring us interest and joy. So kill that autopilot. Get rid of it. You want to do it easily? Change what you eat for breakfast. Change what you wear. Change your route to work. Whatever you do, change something. Because that autopilot is keeping you from seeing all the possibilities. And that autopilot will be what's blinding you when that thing comes out of the blue. Here we go. This comes from U.S. Navy SEALs. They have a 3-word mantra. The first word is focus. Multitaskers in the room, show yourselves. Okay, let's talk about that lie for a minute. There's no such thing as multitasking in human beings. What we do is we sacrifice quality and safety to go back and forth really fast and pretend that we're doing 2 things at once. And guess what? We're risking each other's lives. We're risking the quality of our work. We're shallowing our relationships, all because we don't focus. Try this. Try monotasking. Take one thing, do that one thing all the way through, and watch how that feels. It'll change your life. So, first rule in U.S. Navy SEALs, when they get in the stuff, and they don't use the word stuff, but I'll use the word stuff for you, they focus. I've got to find focus. Number 2, they commit. Oh, I guess this came up in a different order. We'll take them all 3 at once. The second step is they commit. They choose an action, and they go full tilt boogie toward what they're going for. All right? But they also know going full tilt boogie, they're going to have to adapt. This is an amazing balance to be able to develop. To say, I'm going juggernaut towards that goal, but I know things aren't going to go the way I planned, and I must be able to adapt. How do U.S. Navy SEALs survive the crazy stuff they survive? Because they adapt. Because they know going in, it's not going to go the way we expect it to. So let's take it the way it comes and adapt to it. If you want to be ready for anything, you can't have solid expectations. Expectations get in the way. I say you need to change your expectations into flexpectations. I know, gag reflex. But the reality is, if you go in there expecting a hard reality to occur, you're going to be disappointed. So go in loose. Go in free. Go in knowing things are going to change, because they are. Let me ask you this. How many of you have had the exact month that you planned at the beginning of September right now? Okay, how many of you have had the exact week that you planned at the beginning of this week? Or the exact day since you woke up this morning? So what are we expecting? So here's the deal. I'm going to suggest that we eradicate this word from our vocabulary. Should. It's really, you ever have someone come to you, you know what you should do? You know what we should do? You know what you should have done? I have a friend who says he's tired of being should upon, because the whole world is telling him how his life is supposed to be, and what should be is not what is. What is what is. And let's take it as it comes and not worry about should. Let's just take it and do it. If you want to be ready for anything, you better know right now what's most important in your life. Ever make a list of the things that you would grab if your house was on fire? Well, you need to make a list of what you would grab if your life was on fire. Because if you don't know what's most important in your life, I guarantee you the rest of the world doesn't either, and they're going to drag you all over the place to their goals and priorities, so you better know where you stand when the white water hits. I'm suggesting that you go home tonight and make a list of the 5 things that are most important to you, and then put a check on that list of how much time you're actually spending focused on those things. And if there's a gap, fill that gap. Because you have control of your own lives. But if you don't even know what's important to you, what's the point? And to be ready for anything, you have to know, because you can't stand around thinking, oh, what's most important? I tell you what, when it hits me, I know what to grab. I know what to do. I know what I need. I spend my time where I want to spend my life. Because you know something? Time is not money. Contrary to all the government contracts in the world, time is not money. Time is your life. And what you choose to do with that dictates the quality of your life. So, know what's important. Put your time there. You will be readier for anything. This is Jim Trueblood. He's been homeless on the streets of Philadelphia for 30 years, the last 10 legally blind. I thought it would be interesting because I talked to everybody, and I was in Philadelphia, and I saw him laying there on the sidewalk, and I said, hey, are you homeless? And he said, I'm too hungry to talk. Okay, I get your hint. So I go and I buy him a sandwich. When I bring him the sandwich back, he says, there's no mayo on this. Who says beggars can't be choosers, right? So I go back and I get him some mayo for his sandwich, and I say, how do you survive on the streets? How can you stay ready for anything? With your disability, with how long you've been out here, with this lack of protection? And he said the same thing that the animal behaviorist that I spoke to said. Stay alert, stay alive. He said, I don't have eyes in the front of my head, so I have to have them all around my head. And that means that I'm using my ears, I'm using my friends, I'm using vibrations, I'm using whatever I can. But if I stop being alert, I know the end is going to come. It's going to be over. Stay alert, stay alive. That means no going to sleep on the job, folks. And I don't mean literally. I know they have those new stickers now that you can put over your closed eyes that make them look like they're open. I know, people are like, what's that? I need to get some of those. Oh, I see some of you are actually wearing them. Good. All right, so the bottom line is we have to find a way to stay awake here. And realize this, ladies and gentlemen who work for an enormous organization, the only security that you have in this world is you. If you think because you work for the enormous organization of NASA that you are safe, you are the dog in this photo. And that ample bottom is your overhead waiting to come down, okay? Not everybody understands gravity, okay? The key here is, and what I mean by this is simply this. If NASA ever gets to the point where they say, we can't afford to educate you, you take some money out of your account and go educate yourself. You prepare yourself. Because if you think any of the people in this room would take a bullet for you, think again, okay? The reality is, you're on your own when it comes to budget cuts. It doesn't have to make sense. I don't care how talented you are. It doesn't have to make sense. Very often it doesn't to those who have been cut. And so you make your own security, which means develop your skills. Make it so that if you are released into the world, they are releasing the most incredible, amazing, talented human being that ever existed, and people will snap you up. But if you wait for them to teach you, wait for them to take care of you, you will be waiting a long time. Trust me on this one. And you got to learn, dog. The Africans have a beautiful proverb, stormy seas make strong sailors. What this tells me is, when we're going through the stuff, there's a lesson there. Now, you don't always get what you expect, you don't always get what you want, but you get something. And the question is, are you valuing what you get? Are you paying attention to the lessons that come out of the worst of your experiences? I have awesome experiences and awesome stories. That's the way my life works. If you were to actually look at the accounting of my life, actually, it looks something like this. There are successes. There are a lot more lessons. But if you notice, this is all labeled life assets because they're good stuff. Big pile of gold or little pile of gold, but you're getting gold either way. Learn to value those lessons because sometimes they're better than what you were going for in the first place. Okay, big question. Raise your hand if you have too much budget. Okay, raise your hand if you have too many employees or too many resources. Okay, good. Then this is for you. I give to you the Mona Lisa. Only this isn't the original Mona Lisa. This is the Mona Lisa carved out of 64 strategically scraped pieces of burnt toast. It was created by an artist by the name of Tadeko Akawa. Now, I asked you a minute ago how many of you had too many resources. Nobody raised their hand. Too many people, nobody raised their hands. This guy had burnt toast, and he made the Mona Lisa. And I'm saying to you, you have more than burnt toast, right? So the question is, what kind of art are you creating with what you've got? What are you doing with what you have your hands on right now? I guarantee you, you can be doing more with what you have. I guarantee it. And if you don't believe it, challenge me, bring me in, let me show you. And I'm not talking hire me. I'll do it for free just to make a point. Okay? You can do more with what you've got. The quote on the right hand here is from Teddy Roosevelt. Do what you can with what you have where you are. Because what other choice do we have? You can sit there raging at the emptiness of your budget, or you can take what you've got and do something with it. I don't know about you, but that second option seems like it's a better one for me. So do what you can with what you have where you are. I'm moving on. And I'm sorry to be speaking so quickly. I have too much to share with you people. Okay, this one, 30 seconds. Raise your hands if you can find the hidden bird. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Anybody? Anybody? The lesson with this one is quite simple, folks. Embrace the obvious. If you want to be ready for anything, you don't need to go looking in crazy creative places. You take that low-hanging fruit that's right in front of you and you run with it. Take the obvious something. It doesn't mean you're not smart. It means you are smart to take something that's logical and obvious. We all want to be innovative and different and creative. Yay, woo! But bottom line is, sometimes the obvious is what works best. Let's choose what works best. And the older I get, the more I know, simplicity is genius. The simpler we can make things, the better. The less complicated our lives are, the easier it is to alter things when everything hits the fan. If you want to be ready for anything, you need to manage fear. I used to think that fear was the enemy. I've grown to learn that fear is an overbearing friend. It's a friend that is trying to protect us from looking stupid, from hurting ourselves, from doing stuff that we're going to regret later. However, it's an overbearing friend. It's a friend that doesn't really know what we can or can't do or withstand. It's trying to protect us from the things that might be the greatest adventures in our lives. And so we have to find a place to put it. One thing I can tell you is when you live a life of fear, you live a very predictable life. You know how the story is going to end. But if you can find a way beyond the fear, you might find a different outcome is possible. Now I know you're all afraid of the bunny, but the point here is fear is like this blockade in front of your face that doesn't allow you to see or do the things that you want to or know you need to do. So I'm just saying to you, find a way to set it aside. The most insidious form of fear? Stress. How many people feel stressed in their work lives? Oh, really? Just, is that it? Or the rest of you just too stressed out to raise your hands, right? Well, this is for you, folks. It's the chill pill. I'm sorry to tell you, it's actual size. And it's a suppository. So, there is an easier way to reject stress, and it goes like this. Just reject stress. Reject it. Okay, I'm going to surprise you right now, or some of you. I'm 50 years old. I'm going to be 51 next week. You know how I stay so young and sprite? I reject stress. When someone comes up to me with a steaming cup of stress and they want to share it, and they always want to share it, I say, no, thank you. And I let them put it on the counter and let it cool, because you know something? There's no need for it. You can arrive to a meeting late and flustered, or you can just arrive late. You choose, okay? When I arrive late to a meeting, I jump into the doorway like Superman. But there's an awkward silence, but no stress, and then we move on. I'd rather make it weird than stressed, right? Okay, this is the weirdest story I'm going to tell you. Weed pullers in the room, show yourselves. I pull weeds, okay, yeah. When I was 12 years old, my father, the most anal retentive weed pulling supervisor on earth, would watch me pull weeds and go, up, you missed a little bit of that one. Up, you missed a little bit of that one. He'd say, we got to get out there and pull weeds, meaning you got to get out there and pull weeds. I hated it. Fast forward 35 years. The love of my life, a woman that I've been married to for 29 years now, asks me to go pull weeds in my own yard. And I'm horrified. But I'm going to do it because I love her. And so I go out, what I do for love, right? I get on my hands and knees and start pulling these weeds, and I'm resenting her, and I'm angry, and that's not me. So I say, well, what would Bob do about this? And this is what Bob did. Bob wiped out those weeds, except for one. And that one weed, not only did I not wipe it out, I watered it. Not only did I water it, I put Miracle Grow stakes around the edges of it. What you are looking at right now is my weed. Not even kidding. Look at when it was fully articulated. There's my weed. It was literally 10 feet wide, 8 feet tall. My neighbor's like, Bob, that's dropping seeds all over the place. I'm like, yeah. This is what I learned from my weed. One, we should all be weeds. Do you have to set aside a special patch of ground for your weeds? No. They'll grow up in the cracks of the sidewalk, wherever they can. Do you have to water your weeds? No, because they'll take whatever water is available. If you rip a weed out and you miss a sliver of that weed, what happens? Grows right back. Someone cuts me off at the knees, that's what I want to do. Sprout, sorry, here I am, okay? And for those of you supervisors, managers in the room, show yourselves. Managers, I manage people, okay? Well, tell them this story if you see them then. Because the point is, so often the people that we think are the weeds in our lives, the ones we want to pluck out and toss aside, if we just coddle them a little, nurture them a little bit, treat them right, might be something amazing that emerges from that. So, water your weeds. Moving on. Hey, your attitude is your attitude. Don't blame anyone else for it. You choose it. You live it. I don't care what happens in your day. I've talked to people who were 2 weeks from the end of their life and they knew it. And they had better attitudes than some of the people who are working in cubicles that I know. This is the way it goes, folks. You choose your attitude. You have the power. And if you give that power to someone else, shame on you. Okay? You can say, oh, I'm mad because of this. Oh, I'm mad because of that. You're mad because you want to be mad. That's why. If you say, oh, I don't want to be mad, then don't. It's really that simple. Try it. It takes practice, but it's a good thing. And you better keep your sense of humor in all of this. That's my dog Gracie and the comforter from my bed. You get outside and you see your beautiful little border collie and your shredded spread. What's the first thing you think to grab? For me, it was my camera. Because I knew at some point this was going to be funny. You need to keep your sense of humor if you want to be ready for anything, because if you don't laugh, you cry. Humor has saved my life. I was in the gym about 4 months ago, not even joking about this, and I'm watching one of these I used to call them roid heads. They're the guys who are so thick-necked and so pink and so veiny that they're scary just to even walk by. And there was one of these guys who was working on a gymnac ball. You know what the gymnac ball is? The big inflatable balls. And he's sitting there and he's getting ready to do some kind of ab exercise, and he bounces, and he flips over backwards onto his head. And this is the sound that escaped my nose. And he heard it, and he jumped like Spider-Man from like all the way over there up into my face, and he goes, "Something funny?" And I go, "Not wanting to die." "I don't know, you tell me." And I go to the gymnac ball, and I do exactly what he just did. Bounce, bounce, whoop, over the back. Everyone around him starts to laugh, and I stand up, and I look at him, and he goes, "Yeah, that's pretty funny." All right. Guess what? I would have been like a wet spot on the floor when he was done with me, and now it's just a wet spot in my pants. That's fine. Okay, so keep your sense of humor, because otherwise, it's not as fun a ride. I know a lot of people who travel around emotionally like this. You need to let go of the bad stuff, folks. If you're toting around all the nasty things that have happened to you during your life, you're hugging a porcupine. And then you're going, "Ow, ow, why do I feel so miserable? Ow." Well, let go of the porcupine. Maybe you'll feel better, okay? The problem is we tend to think that if we hold on to these things, it will protect us in the future. But it won't. It just makes us more jaded as we look at the future. Let it go. Travel light. You will be happier, I promise. I am a professional improviser. You can catch me at SAC Comedy Lab in downtown Orlando anytime during the year, unless you're Susan, who's never seen me and been there 1,000 times. But in this life is what happens while we're making other plans. We need to, I just got my 2-minute warning, everyone. Okay, sorry, I get excited about 2-minute warnings. Okay, so you need to find a way to improvise. Make it up as you go, because life isn't going to come as you expected. So find a way to say yes. John Lennon looks a little pissy in this picture, but he was right. Here's the basic rule of improv. Yes. Whatever happens in life, we need to say yes. Yes. And that is, we try on the ideas before we reject them. You can still say no out loud afterwards, but every time you encounter an idea, you should start by saying, yes. What would that be like? Let me imagine that before you reject them. What you'll find is you'll be saying yes permanently to a lot more ideas. And in this world, we have to find a way to take care of each other, folks. You want to be ready for anything? Have a circle of friends that's got your back. Because as infinitely powerful as we all think we are as individuals, we're nothing compared to what we are with all of our friends. And you need to find a way to find that circle of people that can support you, bolster you, pick you up, and dust you off when you need it most. And that starts with you reaching out to take care of someone else. And then the care is returned. And in all of this, you need to find a way to be you. It's hard in this environment. You put on a certain outfit, you put on the badge, you walk into a room, and you forget which one of them you are. However, what you bring to this table is unique and different. In fact, being you is the only thing you're guaranteed to do better than anybody else in the world. So do that. It takes a lot less effort than putting on a costume or faking it. Find a way to be you. You are creating original art here. And if you hand the brushes to somebody else, shame on you. Because we will never know that original art that you are if you do that. All of this put together, I hope you get something out of it that allows you to be a little readier. Because if you're readier, you can contribute a lot more to what the world has. Did you hear that? I'd like to buy a vowel, please. You can contribute a lot more to what the world has to offer. That's all I have to say to you today. Now you applaud. Thank you.